feels right that my last video on this channel is about a trade rumor because Kirk Cousins' name is popping up all over the place with the injury news regarding Justin Fields and the Jets. So we're going to talk about the possibility of Kirk going to New York. I've got some notes from training camp, and then I will bid you guys farewell at the end of the video. So let's start off with Kirk. If you missed it, during Jets training camp today, an injury occurred to quarterback Justin Fields. He was carted off the field. Obviously, the cart is always gruesome. Then it was reported, hey, it sounds like it might be turf toe. And then from there, I saw it might be a dislocated toe. Whatever the injury is or whatever the severity is, there are going to be conversations about adding another quarterback. And Kirk Cousins is probably going to be at the top of the list for any team looking for a quarterback because theirs got injured, unfortunately, during camp. So get ready for any time a quarterback even limps a little bit, trade for Kirk Cousins, right? That's going to be the thought that a lot of people have, and somewhat understandably so. Listen, if Fields only going to miss 2 or 3 weeks, they're not trading for Kirk Cousins. But if it is a turf toe, like those things don't go away that quickly. They can linger a little bit. And at that point, I could see the Jets picking up the phone, getting a price, right? And then doing what they want with that information. If the price is something that they're just not comfortable with, then they roll with Tyrod Taylor, which, by the way, you can make a good argument that ring light almost fell, that Tyrod Taylor is a better option than Justin Fields. Sorry, we're going to fix this on the fly. You can make a solid argument that Tyrod Taylor is better than Cousins and Fields. And I don't think that would be an argument that I would go to war for, but it's one that I would listen to because I do think he is a very good backup, potentially starting quarterback as well. So, as for Kirk to go into the Jets, keep an eye on it. Let's first keep an eye on Fields' health and see truly the severity of this toe, foot, leg injury, whatever it may be exactly. I'm sure more tests have to be done, and maybe by the time you're watching this, we have more concrete answers on Justin Fields and his health. So, something to watch for. If a trade does materialize, I think a lot of it will be rooted in the Falcons just trying to get some of that money off their books and out of Arthur Blank's pocket and over to the Jets. I don't expect major compensation coming to Atlanta. Like, let's say it really does get to that point of a trade's about to happen. I would guess it's going to be a day 3 pick swap where Atlanta sends Kirk some of his contract to the Jets with a 7th round draft pick back for a 5th round draft pick. Kind of equals out to a 6, and Atlanta saves a little bit of money. That's probably what a trade's going to shape up to be. I don't expect some major return. A 3rd, no, it's not happening. A 4th, not happening. Maybe a 5th. So, one injury that's already popped up, which sucks, by the way. Injuries in training camp are the absolute worst. I can't speak from any experience, but I kind of envision getting injured in training camp is worse than any other point. Like, end of the season would suck if you're on a good team, but, man, just missing the whole year, that would blow. All right, so that's the first bit of news on the trade rumor front regarding Kirk Cousins. I could also see the Jets reaching out to the Browns. They've got Joe Flacco. He used to play for the Jets, so he's already got some familiarity with the organization, although brand new head coach, brand new GM, knew everything from the last time he was there. So that's one name that the Browns and the Falcons could be kind of competing with one another when it comes to a trade if either side is very motivated to trade one of their quarterbacks. So that's one thing. Let's talk about training camp. Let's wrap up my final video ever with just some good old football talk. So one thing I want to get out there right now is you're going to see a lot of reporting, you're going to see a lot of tweets, some articles, other videos about how training camp is going. And those are all good to consume, right? We're getting closer to football coming back. I love it. Soak it in. We haven't had it in a long time. I'm just going to caution you to do one thing. Not take it with a grain of salt, but not to read too much into this guy was running with the first team offense. This guy was with the third team defense. Coaches are going to move players around. They're going to want to see how some guys look in different situations. It may just be as simple as the starter just needed a breather. So the backup went in, had a good rep. Coach said, stay in there for another rep. I don't want you guys to read too much into, oh crap, James Pierce and Jalen Walker with the third-team defense? All right, well, they were for the first half of practice because they're rookies, and then they got to run with the first-team defense towards the end, right? I would expect at the beginning of training camp for the first-team offense and defense to be veterans, as it should be. Like, just think about it in your own lens. If you got a new guy at work, I don't care if they were the greatest person you ever hired. Are you putting your brand new server with a huge table for their first shift? Or are you going to put them with quiet little Tuso? Probably the latter. So, bad Colin Cowherd analogy, I know, but I don't want anyone reading too much into it. Having said that, here are some of the notes I saw out there. There's a lot of good reporting going on. So, Michael Penix had a pretty solid day, it looked like. Went against the second-team defense, went against the first-team defense, had some success, had some ups, had some downs. Darnell Mooney did go down at one point in practice. He dove out for a pass, hit his head against the ground, didn't return. Maybe it's just being overly cautious. It's July 24th. We don't need to push Mooney for a game that's not even for another 6-7 weeks, pretty much. Or maybe there is something to be had here, and we'll learn more about it if he does not show up to practice tomorrow. But that is a piece of news right there, and fingers crossed it's nothing too serious for Mooney. Speaking of injuries, by the way, Troy Anderson started off on the PUP list. Remember, he spent a lot of time last year injured, so clearly whatever was nagging him last year just hasn't really resolved throughout the offseason. So it could be more explanation as to why the Falcons signed Devon Diablo. They added a linebacker because they didn't have, Anderson in full confidence for being healthy this year, and they let what's-his-face walk to the Chargers. So that could be a big indicator as to the health of Anderson with him being on the PUP list and the Falcons adding a linebacker back in March. So that's kind of the injury front right there. A handful of guys worked in and out of the first and second team defense. One notable name was cornerback Lamar Jackson. So he was with the first team defense. There's clearly an open competition going on at slot right now between D. Alford, Clark Phillips, I suppose Lamar Jackson now. Maybe they're testing him out outside a little bit, put Hughes at inside, see what the best combination is. And you got the rookie Billy Bowman, who played safety at Oklahoma, making the shift to a nickel. So those are some of the early updates. And Kirk Cousins, by the way, was practicing today. He was going up against the first team defense, going up against the second team defense. They kind of rotated him in Penix a little bit. I don't think there's anything to read into this, of course. I think it's just, hey, we're going to keep guys light. We're going to treat you like anyone else. It's a little, we'll monitor it. I will not be happy, even though I won't be on this channel, if 3 weeks from now I still see Kirk getting a lot of first team reps. We should get to a point pretty quickly where it's all Penix. And sure, if you want to give Penix a breather, I get that. But at the end of the day, this is a guy that should be starting 17 games for you, and he should be getting as many reps as possible with some exceptions with that first team offense to build that chemistry. Now the tough part. I've had an incredible time hosting this channel for a number of years, and if you missed it, back in the spring, I announced that I'd be making a career change, and I came back from my wedding and honeymoon and kind of helped Chat Sports out for a little bit while they looked for a replacement on this channel by doing at-home videos for about 5 weeks now. And I've loved covering this team. I've loved talking about this team with you all, but ultimately, I hate to sound cliche, but I had to do what was best for me, right? And an opportunity that I was very excited about was offered to me, and decided to just make a complete shift altogether. I've had a great time doing that, but can only juggle two things at once for so long. So that is what brings my time to hosting this channel to an end. Honestly, I can't thank you guys enough, and I know that gets said a lot by people to followers and to consumers, but man, when you're in these shoes, you might be able to understand where I'm coming from, which is you guys made this job so awesome and so fulfilling, and I can ramble on forever, but I'm truly grateful. And if you ever spot me at the airport, around, or anything like that, don't be a stranger. Feel free to say hi. And I'm looking forward to watching this season with you guys. You can follow me on Twitter. I won't be as active on there now that I'm not working the sports sphere field as I was earlier, but I'll still be talking about the Dirty Birds over there. So thank you all, and be nice to the next host, because it was interesting taking over from the last host and some of the comments I got. But, say la vie. All right, rise up.